This is going to be a quick look at REPL tools for PHP, and REPL stands for the read eval print loop, and basically it is an interactive console in the same style as you have your developer console in the browser, but for PHP. So there's multiple tools available for that. So currently the most popular ones are the PsySh and Boris. So I've checked them out both, and I liked PsySh a bit more, so we'll take a look at this one. But basically installing them and running is entirely similar, so if you want to try the other one, feel free to do so. Now the downside to using them is that you pretty much have to have Linux to run them because they rely on the PCA-NTL library. Actually, the PsySh one does not rely on PCA and NTL, or actually can be run without the PCA NTL, but if you make a fatal error somewhere, it is going to die and just drop you out of the REPL entirely. So it's better to run on Linux, and you have to have the two extensions installed, and if you are on an Ubuntu-like systems, you probably already have them installed, so don't worry about that. Now, for testing purposes, I have already cloned the PHPixie to-do project that you can find on GitHub, but you can easily use it with your own project. So I have it here. So here's my local host. Here's the PHPixie to-do, and now I'm going to go to this to the PHPixie folder, to the project where I'm in, and I'm going to install PsySh. So let's look at the install line. It's composer you require, and actually this is going to install it globally, so you can run it anywhere. But I actually prefer installing things like this in a local scope, just inside the project separately, not globally. So I'm going to run like this and this. Just composer require PsySh. But there is a huge upside to installing it globally, like they suggest. It's that you can run it later from anywhere outside the project, and if you want to quickly evaluate something, like you're interested in what's going to be like a sprintf or something, or quickly JSON decode an array or something like that, it's really handy to have a REPL tool installed in your global path. You can just run it, run a few PHP commands there, and that's it. So let's hit enter. I have a deprecated comment, but that's not going to matter. So it's going to install. I have the required components already installed, and as I said, you probably will too, so that won't matter. Now let's go to, actually I suggest installing XPDO SQLite, which I think I actually have, but let's just go and try it out. So vendor /vendor, it's in the vendor bin folder, PsySh. So here is the command, and basically what it allows us to do is just run a command line by line, as we would be in a PHP file, but we will actually see the output. So if I do something like this, $a equals 10 divided by 2, it tells me immediately that it's going to be 5. And the variable is also here, so I can now do something like $a plus 5, and it's going to eval and print it, so it's 9. So it's already pretty useful, but let's try using it with the actual framework. So the first thing that we have to do is require the composer autoloader. So we'll go and do the require vendor autoload PHP. So the autoloader is there, and now we create a new instance of the actual project. So let's say like $framework equals new project framework class project. Oh, and actually see this. So now we have a fatal error, but the REPL caught it, so we did not, the execution did not stop. We just see an error and we got to the next line, and that is actually the thing that helps you to learn stuff, because it's much easier to experiment with such a console than just constantly editing a PHP file, saving and running it. So let's try this again. All right. Now the framework builder that you already know, we can just get now from the framework. Oh, and actually it supports double tap. So see, I have the completion. So all I do is type a variable, type twice the tab, and I see the completion, and that is actually nice, and you will get much better results. Well, maybe not better, but you will get more accurate results than if you were using the IDE, because the IDE relies on actually parsing the file. So a lot of things like, well, for one thing, if you don't have doc blocks and the IDE does not know what instance a particular function returns, you will not get any completion. Here, in the case of REPL, since the line is executed and it knows that the $framework variable is a particular instance of the project framework class, it knows all the public methods. So if you're using the REPL, you are always going to see all the public methods, and that's why it makes it so easy to explore libraries and just experiment with things. So let's go and create the builder. I have a builder, and so just to quickly get to somewhere useful, I'm going to get the ORM component. So framework builder, bang, look here, components. It will not complete it. Make that components, and I'll initialize. Oh, it doesn't like completing the components. So no, doesn't matter. So perfect. What? What? I am pretty sure I wrote it. All right, let's yes, I did a typo there. I see it. Framework. And that is why I did not get the completion, because I typed the wrong. So components. Sorry. It does. Hey. Components. All right, let's take a look at all components, just so we do it step by step. Components, right? Now if I type the components, so obviously, but unlike the IDE, it cannot complete the framework builder arrow components, and until you actually call the function, because it does not know what it's going to return. But now it's going to be able to autocomplete. Some C components. I'm really bad at typing for some reason. Alright, so see, we have a list of all the public methods and components, and that's actually all the PHPixie libraries that you have. So now I can go and let's take ORM. That's what I wanted. So now I have the ORM. So, and from here I can do some more experimenting. So let's see. Let's try getting all the tasks, all the projects, but first we have to actually create one. So let's create a project Pixie. Or actually, somebody complained that I always use the Pixie and something like that as examples. So just this once, I'm going to throw this out, and let's say call this shopping. All right, and we will be buy milk, buy column, because that is what my shopping looks like. I actually added this a bunch of times. All right, All right, so now let's go and have rm query project and find all the projects. Find. Now we want to print them nicely here, so I'll print them like this as array true, which is just going to convert them to an array. So we just get the data array here, and as you can see, the REPL is nicely formatting the array, so I can actually see just the data, and that's actually more nicely formatted than if I were dumping it. And actually, if you want better dumps, it suggests you install a Symfony component. I think did it suggest that? I think it did. Wait. Yes, Symfony debug. So I think that makes the display of the errors nicer, but I actually prefer like this. So now we could query some projects. Let's now find, and we can go up and redo the old line. So we'll get the single project, find one. All right, now we know that we got an entity. So let's look at its tasks, project, and you get all the auto-completion here. Although you don't really get some relationships properties that are called with call and get and setters, like the magic methods, but you do get the public methods like save and delete, and we'll take a look at a different library in a second that looks much better with completion. So let's have the project, and now we want to see project tasks. All right, and as array oof, hope I did not scare it. Hello, REPL? You were not supposed to do this. All right, well, all right, it died. But the cool thing is that it remembered all the things that I typed before, so that is, so even if you do like another session with it, you can still just do up, wait, undefined variable ORM, alright, I still need to get the ORM. So look, it took me just a few seconds to get back there. So, what was the actual problem? Project, we got the project. Alright, let's get it. Tasks equals project. As array true. I think that's the thing that I actually wanted to run. Call to alright, it doesn't have the as array. But let's try using the REPL again. So I'm going to say tasks property equals normal project tasks main. I did it as tasks property, but let's just continue. It has auto completions for variables too, and now I get all the methods. Oh, again, sorry. So what I have, add as data. So see, you don't, if you have this, if you have the REPL to check it out, you don't really need to go to the manual as often. So that's much better for experimenting. So now that I have the as data, I think true is for recursive, but let me try like this. Yes, see, now I got the tasks for a particular project, and since you can access any component, you can access the bundle. In fact, let's try this. Let's get the app bundle. The app bundle. This is going to be components, bundles, get app. So now I have the app bundle, and from here, if you have some public methods on it, you can call something in your bundle, and that gives you a lot of actual freedom. So for example, you even in the case of this project and task thing, demo, you could have some console methods to see for like analytics, that you could say like how many active tasks exist in the system, how many were deleted, maybe some statistics. And yes, of course, you could make like a separate command line controllers for them and be calling them with like Laravel has, for example, artisan something something, and it would give you the answer. But with this approach, with a REPL, if you have these functions available, you can much easily combine them, and it actually turns into a much more useful tool. So, for example, let's just bring like your typical tasks like migrating a database, calling the migration, maybe starting some workers or things like that. And instead of having them as calling to some like console PHP with parameters, you could just go here, call some methods, maybe calls them with different parameters based on some data from the database, and it just gives you much more control. And the best thing is it doesn't really mess with the rest of your project, especially if you install it globally. Because if you install this thing globally, you don't have to, you don't get all the dependencies obviously in the project. All you have to do is just run it from the project folder, and that is pretty much it. So now let's try like a different library. Let's see what we have here. File system debug database config out processors page interim slice template validate. I think that probably the easiest one to try is going to be slice, because it's the first and the easiest library that Pixie has. So let's go slice. $slice. What matters? Does that have editable array data? Actually, let's go with editable array data. Alright, I think it takes an array. So it just adds, let's actually add some stuff there. I'm going to use square brackets, A1, and here I'm going to, what PHP, sorry, or data. So now I have a slice, I can do data get 1, get A, I can try get one with some default value. Alright, let's try setting something. Let's try setting a nested thing like BCD equals is 5. So after I set everything, I can now try and see all the data, how the structure looks. And actually, so see, PHPixie formats the data, that's the purpose of the slice library, to give you access to different kinds of data. So actually, let's try and turn this into the showcase of the slice. I'm going to slice, I'll get the BC, so I'll get a slice. I'll just go on S. $data slice, so I'll take the sub array BC. Alright, now let's see S get. So you see S is now the subarray, and if I change in S something, let's say I add a new thing like G5, it is going to also be available in the master and all the other slices. So now if I go to do the data get, I will also see the G5 here. And you can experiment with all the libraries, and since the framework is fully built, the only thing that you're not in the context of the HTTP request, but you can play with all the components that you like, validation, anything. So alright, we had fun with this one. I actually did not want to take a look at Boris here, but since this video is going to be pretty short anyway, let's go and just do this, Boris REPL. Alright. So I know that they have a crazy vendor line to install them. Actually, let's see if I'm still recording. I'm still recording. Great. So I know that they have a crazy vendor line that I will never remember, D11 something. So let's go and install those. Come on. I really need to fix this configuration line. So it's not gonna take a long time. Oh, great. Actually, I already probably had it somewhere. So let's go ahead and try Boris. Vendor bin Boris. All right. So this is another thing. This is another REPL. Now, let's just take a quick look at what it can do. So I'm just going to start with the default thing. Require auto load of vendor auto load PHP. All right. Framework. Actually, I'm not gonna call it framework because it's too much typing. You just do it $F. $F equals new project framework. See, it prints a bit differently. It prints project. Probably it also prints all the public properties that are printable, but let's get to it in a second. So let's just go straight to the slice library. $F, and what I noticed, it does not do the completion, and I really did not like this, because to me the completion was kind of the more important part of the of the other one did. So actually that doesn't and it doesn't really give you any suggestions, so I don't think it can actually do completion. And without completion, it's kind of meh. So, but let's give it a fair chance. So F builder components slice. All right, slice some data. $data equals slice. Now, as a developer, I really hate retyping again what I just typed a second ago. This is like probably the most annoying thing you could do. That's why we have the dry principle not to do it ever. All right. So now I have the editable data array. So let's see how it prints it. All right. So the printing looks more generic. So meh. Well, at least you can copy it and it looks like a comment, so I guess that's nice. But I didn't really get the point of printing the object like this, because editable does have a property. Maybe it only prints the public ones. Yes, probably it does that. So you rarely have an object with public properties now anyway. So maybe before we end this, let's try and install the X out. This requires the extension. The documents requires SQLite to work. Oh, cool. So this thing has the PsySh. Let's go back to PsySh for a second. Oh, come on. Because it looks like it has some documentation. And I think it did mention it. So tap to complete. Name all the spaces. That doesn't matter. Read documentation. All right, cool. Doc array map. Let's try that. That looks amazingly cool. Doc array map. PHP manual not found. Well, do I have to download something? Does not say. All right, PHP Docker post. PHP. All right, so probably if you have the PHP manual somewhere, it says you have to download the manual. Let's do it. So adventurous today. This is not going into documentation section. This is going to go straight to the blog. All right, downloading the manual. Bloody blah bloody blah. Download one of the founding PHP manuals and drop it into. All right, let's do it. Let's download one of the PHP manuals and drop it through. Drop it into /local. I don't even have this folder. Right, local share PsySh mkdir. Really? -p. -p. Now cd. Now we get. All right. Now I'm excited. Are you excited? We will see the manual. So cd bar v something PHPixie. Bang. All right, let's go. Bang. PsySh. All right. Now Docker repository. Wow. Oh, that actually looks nice. So if you're learning, like PsySh definitely wants this. So as I said from the very beginning, it's just better. So if you are obviously just learning programming or development and you're doing things like line by line, you're trying out the framework, you can just as easy also get documentation for PHP functions. Let's try something tricky. Doc that has a really prag match, because this one has, yeah, it's readable, so I obviously need to make it full screen. But yeah, it's readable, so adequate. All right, now let's go and check. I think they had another thing. I remember. So the reflection is the list command shows you all about the code, easily search class variables, blah. So you can actually like search things in the column, but I did not really find this useful because actually the IDE is kind of better at this. Anyway, all you really need to know is the class name. Easily show the source code when you. Oh, this is cool. Actually, this is cool. Let's quickly switch back to the REPL here. So, PsySh. Now, let's just you know what? I can just create the slice library and slice because it has 0 dependencies. Oh, cool. You know what? I think it actually remembers what you have done before. Really? Wait. Now I have to try this. Alright, it does not. Alright. But it did remember the auto loading for some reason. So I have the slice. So now let's do show slice. Show. I did not even have to do the new one. So PHPixie slice builder. Well, there is this method there, but probably is not. All right, editable array data. Yes, and you can see the function for something. This is also really nice. If you're just interested in the code, like definitely you get points for this. Forget to catch the last exception. This is meh. The history comment is obviously a nice thing. If you're just trying out and then want to put this in the file, then you can just get things from the history and put it in the file and just run it from there. That is obviously amazing. But there was one thing which I really liked, was using it as a debugger. So if you have a command line tool, and that is actually really cool, all you need to do is call this, and we are actually going to try it out. So then let's create some tphp, require vendor autoload PHP. So some variable, and now we'll just evaluate PsySh. All right. Yes. So, and now that you see this, I actually have the variable here. So you can just drop it anywhere and you get into the entire scope, and you can just continue from the line that you're doing. So that definitely gets you a prop if you are, for example, actually, if you're solving one of those programming puzzles and you find yourself needing a debugger and you don't have Xdebug with an IDE, you can actually use this just to drop a debugger at some point and see what the variables are. So this is definitely useful. So I would say that this thing, the PsySh, definitely goes on the list of the useful stuff, and especially though it is useful outside of the project entirely, and if you have the code in the project as some public functions, you can call them using this, but it is not going to be a dependency. So there is really not much to talk about anymore, so I hope you liked it. I'm going to be trying out some other PHP stuff soon, so check out the site. Bye-bye.